Good morning, everyone. So good to have you here with us today. So normally I give this land acknowledgement, but I have a different one this time. Last week, I was happily invited to speak at the Unity Mosque based in Toronto that our friend El Farouk Kaki runs. And they have a wonderful land acknowledgement that they use. It's a good bit longer than ours, but I think it's really wonderful. And I'd like to share it here, especially in honor today of Martin Luther King Jr. So this is theirs from the Unity Mosque. I begin first by recognizing the history of the land I'm upon, and that this history is tens of thousands of years old, and that the non-human history is the story of creation. I pay recognition to those who nurtured and honored the lands. I also recognize the historical colonial dispossession, occupation, and theft of the land, the systematic elimination of the people from this land, and the subsequent repopulation of these spaces with new people from the outside. I recognize that some who came with guns, and others came under guns. Some came with whips, and some came under whips, and bound by slave shackles. I recognize the blood spilt in honoring this land, in the anti-colonial struggle, and the fight against apartheid capitalism. To end systematic and institutional violence, we must center the narratives of Indigenous peoples in our struggle for dignity and justice. Those among us who are not Native or Indigenous to Turtle Island, especially those who are settlers or of settler descent, directly benefit from occupation, colonization, and the ongoing genocide of the Indigenous people of this land. Settlers also directly benefit from the kidnapping and forced labor of Indigenous peoples from Turtle Island and other places in the world. In solidarity against occupation, colonization, and the injustices inflicted on the First Nations, I acknowledge that I'm on the land of the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and the Squamish nations. I know many of you are on the land of other nations. So if you'd like, please feel free to write those nation names in the chat now. Always, let's remember our connection to our siblings in these nations and pray for the day in which we might be with them in right relationship. And let us also acknowledge that recognizing whose land we are on is a start, but we cannot stop there. There can be no reconciliation without conciliation, and there can be no conciliation without reparations. Those here who are not First Nations, Inuit, or Métis must remember we are guests on this land, and we need to be better guests. I would also like to pay my respects to elders past and present, in particular to Indigenous elders who may be with us today, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I also recognize the historic injustices of slavery, forced migrations, and indentured labor, past and ongoing. Finally, I recognize in all these struggles the bodies, the minds, and the souls of the oppressed and the exploited, and the spirits and presence of the ancestors. So welcome. Welcome to Living Interfaith. Know that the whole of you is welcome. You're not asked to leave who you are in your own homes. Please bring who you are in with you. But what you are asked to remember is that everyone around you has brought who they are in with them as well. And all of goodwill are welcome. When you're ready, let's sing.
Come,
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bruce and Cheryl. So I have several announcements in honor of World Interfaith Harmony Week, which is coming up. It's going to be the first week in February. That's when those of us like Dolores and I who work in interfaith suddenly have events every single day that week, even more so than usual. I'm so grateful to Dolores for all her careful planning. I'm sure Harold is in the same situation there on the island with many, many, many things happening where we try to organize all our peoples together for many events. So the events that I know about, and then I'll turn it over to them and anyone else who has other events, is on Wednesday, February 1st, which is when this week starts. There will be an all-party interfaith caucus for BC. It'll be on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Government leaders and council members will present their thoughts on the role of faith in society. And if you'd like more information about this or the Zoom link, you can email our good friend Sherry Marcial and her team at this. I'm going to put it here in the chat. And I know Samir is actually helping coordinate that as well. So if you have questions, you can ask many people here about that. So that's on Wednesday. Then on Saturday, February 4th, the Ahmadiyya community in Delta is inviting everyone who'd like to attend to their 5th annual interfaith dinner. That'll be at 5:30 p.m. at Bator Rahman Mosque in Delta. Their food's amazing. They're wonderful people. I remember during COVID, I got asked to be on a panel, and usually this would be over dinner, and they knew we couldn't do that. So they actually mailed the food, and it came in seriously like 6 Tupperware containers and with samosas, and it was enough to feed our family of 4. It was unbelievable. So really, if you live anywhere near Delta or you're free that day, I highly recommend going there. They're just fantastic people and their food's amazing. So that's going to be Saturday, February 4th at 5:30. Then the next day, Sunday, February 5th, the Spirit of Life Lutheran Church here in Vancouver near City Hall will be hosting a women and spiritual and religious life event. That's going to be from 2 to 5 p.m. It will include an interfaith panel of women from various faith traditions, myself included, sharing about the role of women and women leaders in our various traditions. And so let me know if you'd like to attend. I can give you the details. So that's Sunday, February 5th from 2 to 5. And then finally on Monday, February 6th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll be teaching compassionate listening, just a 2-hour workshop about compassionate listening, which I find really helpful in bringing folks from all different backgrounds together, including in interfaith settings. So let me know, and I'll just send you the link for that. That's all of these are free. So that's what I have. Dolores, what am I missing? Oh, and you're on mute, Dolores, just as a heads up.
Sorry, yes. Well, there's quite a lot of things. I won't say everything, but this year, what's been wonderful is the Jewish community is quite, they've reopened their community center in White Rock, just on King George Highway, and they've had a good number of activities and events up till now. But I just want to say one thing, and then I'll let Harold talk about his group. But this is on the 5th also of February and Sunday. But it's in the evening, starting at 6 p.m. It is quite a joyous occasion that's happening because it is called Strengthening Our Roots, which is a gala. And it really is celebrating the celebration around birth of trees is a very specific Jewish celebration, but they're using that as a way into their program. And the couple of specific things here is there will be speakers on oral history, the oral history of the starting of the Jewish community in this area, which will be quite interesting. They will also have a Yiddish singer who I believe is quite well known, Tanya Grinberg, but also they will have another speaker who was an Olympian in 1972 in Israel, and she will talk about her experiences there. So there's a lot happening on that evening at the Jewish Center on King George Highway, just outside of White Rock. So I'm just going to stop there and let Harold say a few words.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Dolores. That sounds great.
Well, Kathy mentioned the Interfaith Caucus event on February 1st. She said it very, very well. I just want to mention that there's a national version of that, and Elizabeth May has been involved in that, and she's encouraging a provincial version of an interfaith caucus that would go on, not a one-time event, but something that would be ongoing. So we hope the launch goes really well online.
That sounds great. Thank you. And thanks so much for your organization. I think Harold's on the organizing team for that as well. So that's wonderful.
And Samir is helping it happen. Without him, it wouldn't happen.
Excellent. Lots of very active folks here.
I'm just running the Zoom meeting for that.
Yes, which means without you, it would not happen. So
That's right. That's a big thing.
well done. Any other announcements? Anything else we want to highlight right now? Okay, well here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I say one more thing that's coming up in March? I
Yes.
think many of you will know the name of Seth Klein, who is a climate activist, will be speaking at the Jewish Community Center in White Rock, South Surrey. Also, I'll send out more details. And in fact, there's a series of films about climate and climate action and so on. 3 films during later in February as a lead up to his talk. And then I think there is even an event afterwards to sort of, have feedback and continue to consult about what we can do as a community to move forward. So I'll send all that information out. It's quite exciting. So yeah, sorry, I wanted to bring that up.
That's great. Yes, Stephen, over to you.
I didn't know if this was the appropriate place or time.
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, my final book is about to be published. It's available for pre-order now. It will be officially published on June 1st. And what I would
Oh, there I am again. Unable to see.
I'm sorry?
No, everything's fine, Stephen. It's all good.
Okay.
Keep going. I posted it in the chat, some of the links. But keep explaining it, please.
And what I would ask is if you are inclined to write a review, I would appreciate it if you would buy one copy at least from Amazon so that you could write a review on Amazon. If you are not inclined to write a review, or if you want to buy more than one copy, I would suggest buying it from the publisher. And if you can't, I can give you during the chat afterwards, I can give you a discount code from the publisher. But I would encourage and ask, I need your support. This is, as you can tell, I'm not getting any younger. This is my last attempt to pull it all together and to try to show a possible path forward that is respectful and loving and embrace our diversity, not fear it, not run from it, and not be involved with trying to convert people to our way of thinking, but rather to embrace our diversity. So anyway, it's an afternoon's dictation. If you go online, you can see the beautiful cover that was designed for it. I didn't do the cover. I have nothing to do with it other than to appreciate it. But it's a globe with our various symbols of our differing spiritual traditions, and then surrounded by people of endless numbers of color holding hands around the world. It's a beautiful cover, and hopefully the book is at least partially equally beautiful, but we'll see. And I can answer any questions or try to during the discussion, but at this point I think it's probably appropriate to shut up. So thank you.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much, Stephen. So I'm so glad. Well done. He's written many books on interfaith now. So, and I have several here. I have several copies of all the other ones. So if anyone's interested, let me know. I can send you some. So it's great. Thank you, Stephen. All right, let's come into silence. We can begin the service. So I have a prayer here from Kathleen Rolenz. Spirit of justice, God who befriends those who stand upon the constant edges of decision, crucial and alone. We are grateful to be together this morning. We gather especially to remember Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but not only him, for there were thousands of unnamed women and men who put their bodies and lives on the line so that all may be free. And yet freedom comes at a cost. And we know that racism and Islamophobia, homophobia and transphobia, ageism and ableism, sexism and classism, all of these often unacknowledged realities prevent us from fully knowing one another, from creating the beloved community spoken of by prophets and ordinary persons alike. May the work of Dr. King continue to eradicate injustice wherever and whenever we encounter it. May we continue to speak out against injustice, to speak even if we're afraid our words will not be heard or welcomed. May the spirit of Dr. King continue to flow through our daily living. May we have the courage of Dr. King as we continue to stand up for justice, reconciliation, and truth, despite challenge and controversy. Dr. King went to the mountaintop. He saw the promised land, and he reassured us that we will get there one day. May that be no paradisial dream, but a reality in our own time. May it be so. Amen. Dr. King inspired us to see in one another sisters and brothers with a common origin and destiny, guided by the conviction that together we can fulfill the promise of our nations. Let us pray in the name of our Creator, who calls us to create communities of justice, freedom, and peace. Amen. Now let's offer one another a sign of peace. Peace, everyone. So good being with you today.
Peace to all.
Peace.
Peace to
Salam alaikum.
everybody,
Shalom.
from me and from Carolyn, who is driving home from Canmore.
Peace, everyone.
Good to see you all. Good to see you.
Peace upon your hearts.
Comfort and peace.
Peace, everyone.
Peace, everyone.
Peace be with you.
Thank you. And when you're ready, let's sing.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the waters. We shall not be moved. We shall not. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the waters. We shall not be moved. Fighting for our children. Fighting for our children. We shall not be moved. Fighting for our children. We shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the waters. We shall not be moved. We shall not. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the waters. We shall not be calling out for justice, calling out for justice. We shall not be moved, calling out for justice. We shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the waters. We shall not be moved. We shall not. We shall not. We shall not be moved. We shall not. We shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the waters. We shall not be moved.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. What a wonderful choice. Now, if you'll join me in our joint affirmation. We come together in peace. We sing together in joy and with love. We worship together in one house, a house with names beyond number. Our paths are many, our beliefs are as leaves, and the tree that we cleave to is nourished by the light of compassion, justice, and mutual respect. May our lives, our beliefs, and our actions help to bring about the world of love we all seek, and let it begin here. Thank you. Now is when we usually pray in our own homes and in our own ways. There are so many different people and causes and needs in the world that require our attention. I know this last week I've been reading about the case of Keenan Anderson. Don't know how many of you know about him. He was a school teacher, 31 years old, who lived in LA, and he's African American, he's Black, and he was in a car accident near Venice Beach and was tasered to death by the police. He got into a car accident. They said it was a hit and run, and when he tried to get out of the car accident, that he was fleeing the scene of the crime, and they held him down and tasered him to death. He leaves behind a 6-year-old child and his whole family. And there's a court case about it now. And he was yelling while it was happening. He was yelling, "They're going to George Floyd me." And unfortunately, most of us don't even know about him because there are so many cases like this that happen all the time. And it's just so sad. It's hard to keep track. Today, I'm wearing one of my Black Lives Matter shirts. I have another one that on the back, it has the pictures and names of victims and when they lived and died. But now it's 3 years old, so it's out of date because there have been so many more who've been killed since then. So today I'll be praying for Keenan Anderson. And if we want to pray for him and so many others, sadly like him, who also are subjected to police brutality and murder. Let's take some moments to pray. Thank you. And when you're ready, let's sing.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let race hatred turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let race hatred turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no evil turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let no evil turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bruce and Cheryl. So now is when I always say that if we met in person, I would pass around a basket. I think I still have a basket here somewhere from when we did used to meet in person. So but I have to look for it. I don't know where it is now. But in any case, I'm going to put our donation page in the chat. Thank you so much to those who donate. You do so much to keep our community going, and we're so grateful to you. And also, I'd like to highlight Doctors Without Borders as another organization doing such important work. Oh my goodness, much harder than us, I think. So if you have some extra funds, send them their way. And also the Indian Residential School Survivor Society. If you have some money to send to them, it would be much appreciated. Are there any other causes that we'd like to highlight at this time that need our support? Okay, well, thank you. Feel free to write them in the chat later if you'd like. And then when you're ready, let's sing.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to my colleague, our managing director, Sukhmani Sandhu. And we'll hear from her today. She did preach here once, way back in the day when we were first starting and when we were in person. And that was actually when I met her. And so we've been working together for the last year and a half now. So when you're ready, over to you, Sukhmani.
Thank you, Kathy. Civil rights movement leader and the Nobel Peace Prize winner. In 1964, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on Jan 15, 1920, and assassinated on April 4, 1968. King was awarded the Presidential Medal for Freedom, Congressional Gold Medal, and the day was established as holiday in numerous cities and states, and finally declared as federal holiday in 1986. During the leadership of King Jr., African Americans achieved more genuine progress towards racial equality in America than in the previous years has produced. Dr. King is widely regarded as America's preeminent advocate of nonviolence and one of the greatest nonviolent leaders in the world history. He promoted 6 principles of nonviolence. Nonviolence is a way of life and courage for courageous people. Nonviolence seeks to win friendship and understanding. Nonviolence seeks to defeat justice or evil, not people. Nonviolence holds that unearned, voluntary suffering for just a cause that can educate and transform people and societies. Nonviolence chooses love instead of hate, which I feel the world needs the most than ever. Nonviolence believes that the universe is on the side of justice. Krishna, while delivering his lecture at the Heritage Foundation, once said, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has an uplifting, inspiring attitude that resonated then as it resonates today. But since Dr. Jr., the sound that you're hearing emanating in the civil rights debate has almost invariably been the distinct sound of a loser. Here, reflecting on the years since COVID-19, so much damage and destruction has happened to human life, human spirit, human identity, and to the basic human rights under the blind shadow of the so-called constitutional laws, despite pandemic worldwide. Martin Luther began the Protestant Reformation, which helped put the Bible in the hands of common people, impacted the ways we read scriptures, changed the structure of the church services, refined the church's view of marriage, and informed believers how to practice their faith in relation to politics. To quote Dr. King and his childhood days, now, of course, I was religious. I grew up in the church. I am the son of the preacher. I am the great son of a preacher and the great-great-grandson of a preacher. My father is a preacher. My grandfather was a preacher. My great-grandfather was a preacher. My only brother is a preacher. My dad's brother is a preacher. So I don't have much choice, I guess. He's powerful reminder of what can happen when we devote our lives to God and become open to his learning and to his leadings. King spoke out about racial injustice and inequality during the time that Black people were seen and treated as less than their whiter counterparts. For the extreme level of trauma that came from slavery, Jim Crow laws, and segregation, Black people were persistent but tired of oppression from centuries, tired of cruelty and violence, tired of the obstacles that were in their places and they had to face and others didn't have to face, tired of the system that continued to work against them, tired of the countless efforts that act of hate and racism. King was not only a leader, but a figure that brought hope and belief to many Black people that we would reach equality even when it was not imaginable. He let us know that there would be nothing that could stop him from pursuing a better future that alone empowered and united us. He states, neither rest nor serenity could be granted until Black people are treated equally. And I guess the example Kathy shared today speaks for itself. He taught us the effectiveness of the life lived out loud, one which a person's words and dreams are backed by considerable actions. That it is one thing to say, you have an idea, and quite another to act on it. And man's courage still inspires millions of people today and showed us our lives must be lived intentionally and without regret. The world means something, and we must speak up for the faces of injustice. Years after his death, I still look up at King's life as a motivation to keep fighting for equality in our day-to-day life. Our generation through social media can continue to bring awareness in the racial injustice that occurs in our country and across the world. By educating others as opposed to use of violence, we can help others realize wrongdoings to spark system change. We can continue his vision and message to build a better world by coming together and by holding a unity instead of dividing. Our country is so divided that it has almost become a trend to be on opposite sides. That's exactly what King fought for and fought against. If we followed King's principle of unity, we would live in a much better and much kinder and a loving world around us. I'm continually educating myself on the lives of Black leaders that made monumental changes in the history. We can change the world for the better by shedding institutionalized racism disguised as obstacles on the path of making King's dream a reality. I believe that current movements such as Black Lives Matter and the increase of political activism that we see within the youngest generation are all working to continue King's message. We all must fight for what we believe in, especially in today's world. As we continue to fight for the equality, we must remember that we will always be faced with obstacles, but together through hard works, those obstacles can be overcome. We must do more talk about the making a change for or a better leader. We must believe and act on it. Don't focus on what others think or what you're doing. Be a leader, not an entrepreneur or an entertainer. Modern environmental activists have drawn from King's message as well. Much as segregation and discriminations were, and still are, inseparable from poverty, they point out that poor communities of color disproportionately face environmental hazards such as pollution. They also bear the brunt of harmful effects of climate change, including extreme weather events. I hereby end my conversation with you with a line from King's most famous speech, "I have a dream," which he called for an end to poverty, especially targeted poverty and discrimination against Black Americans. As he said in his speech, "I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today." Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sukhmani. Thank you. When you're ready, Bruce and Cheryl have one more song for us, and then I'll do a closing prayer and we can chat. When you're ready, Bruce and Cheryl.
Whoops. My guitar just fell, got knocked out of tune. Give me a moment.
No problem. That's okay. It's amazing. For those who come often, see how many different musical instruments they're juggling there on their boat. It's really quite extraordinary.
Sorry about that. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall live in peace someday. We shall practice hope. We shall practice hope. We shall practice hope. We shall practice hope someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall practice hope someday. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome. That we shall overcome. That we shall overcome someday.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bruce and Cheryl. Thank you to Sukhmani and to all of you for being here today to celebrate Reverend Dr. King. He's so amazing, really a modern day prophet. And there's still so much we can learn from him and all his writings and all his speeches. In closing, I just want to quote this one small passage that I really like. I like all of it, but this one small passage from his letter from the Birmingham jail, where he says, in a real sense, all life is interrelated. All men are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. This is the interrelated structure of reality. And so it still is. So let us support one another, go in solidarity, fighting for rights for all, and remembering that we're all in this together. Amen.